Okay, our next writer, he spent a couple decades working in the software business, and during a bunch of that time he wrote technical manuals and procedure manuals, mind-numbingly dull stuff. So he decided to give fiction a try a few years ago. And now you can see some of his work at fewerthan500.com or at his website, voiceofdoomandgloom.com. That writer would be, of course, me. And if you saw the painting upstairs, you may recognize the character in this story. There's a bar in Austin, Texas called Jake's Place. Jake's was a large bar with a typical cowboy decor. Prior to the abdication, it would have been jam-packed at this time of day. Now, with work and good liquor hard to find, I had the place to myself. What is this stuff? I asked the bartender. Some moonshine from Arkansas. We might get some beer in from St. Louis next week if the delivery man makes it through. I understood. A delivery man myself, I knew the route west from Missouri was dangerous. The only secure driving was from Arizona to the coast, where the Chinese-owned megacorporations kept order on the highways. I made a living by 2017 standards, hauling small loads in my modified van. Interstate commerce is not what it used to be since the federal government downsized itself out of existence. The private sector abhors a vacuum and rushed in when our elected officials threw in the towel. The problem seemingly too difficult to tackle in our polarized world. What are you hauling this week? Asked the bartender. I hit this place a couple times a month on my western runs. I have a load of golf balls for some resort in the California desert. The Chinese do love to golf. The door opened, letting in a blast of Texas heat. The car engine roared and the sound of gravel spitting from the tires overpowered the sound of an old Vince Gill tune playing on the jukebox. I noticed the bartender's eyebrows shoot up, and I swiveled on the stool to see who walked in. She was solid, not skinny, short brown hair with some gray tight jeans, a black Harley-Davidson t-shirt, and a beautiful stag leather-handled Bowie knife strapped to her leg. She walked over to the bar and took the stool on my left. She turned toward me and put out her hand. Moira, she said, staring directly at me. I felt like I had just been inspected by one of those total body scanners you see at almost all corporate offices. I shook her hand. Dylan, I replied. That your van out there, she asked. It is. Where are you headed? I'm delivering a load of golf balls to Palm Springs. I need transport. Do you have room? I stared down at my shot glass and took a slow sip. I had to think this one through. Human cargo was almost always a problem. I turned to face her. What's in it for me? I asked. I can pay you. Where are you headed? How much? She asked, ignoring my question. 5,000 Brazilian. It was a sad commentary on my country, on my time. The Brazilian real is a much better option than the American dollar. I'm going to make a phone call. Don't leave without me. She hopped off the bar stool and walked out the front door, dialing a mobile as she walked. I returned my attention to the shot glass, already having doubts. The cost-benefit analysis going on in my head was jumbled. I felt she was troubled, but 5,000 real would help out a lot. She burst through the door and headed straight for me. Here's 1,000 now. That's all I have. My people will pay you the rest in Palm Springs. We have to go now, she said. Whoa, what's the rush? Places to go, people to meet. She tried to sound light, flippant, but I thought there was more there. 10,000. Your trouble, I said. Deal, if we go right now. I slammed down the rest of my drink. Let's go. We were about 40 miles west of Los Alamos, New Mexico. We had driven for hours in the pouring rain, mostly in silence. The sky was dark gray at noon. The 45-mile-an-hour gust shoved my van toward the gravel shoulder of the road. The drive required my constant attention, and I was bone-tired. The cab was cozy, bathed in gentle light from the monitors. Moira had her reading light on. She had laid her book on her lap, and I could see an inverted pentagram on the worn leather cover. I would never have guessed she was into that sort of thing, crystals and witchcraft, but I was often misled by first impressions. Interesting reading, I said. I was looking for a way to influence this weather, Moira said. I wish you'd hurry up and get around to it then. I could use a break from this wind, I replied. According to my weather radar, I should be clear of this storm. Well, never. Weather was just one of the things that had turned odd since the abdication. Thanks for taking the back roads. I know you'd have an easier time on the toll road, she said. Most of the major roads, the interstates the public paid for with their taxes, were privately owned now and heavily monitored. We were on the old state roads. 2 lanes, narrow, not the best choice for my van. I looked over at her, but she was staring out the window, looking at the barren New Mexico high desert. Obviously, you're in some sort of trouble. It might help if I knew what kind, I said. She spoke so softly, I had to strain to hear her response over my Thelonious Monk CD. I saw something, and I shouldn't have. A gust hit the van hard and almost blew me into the gravel shoulder. I fought the wheel and brought it back into the road. Normally I would stop in these conditions, nap in the bunk in the back, and wait out a storm like this, but my gut told me I had better keep moving. And now you're on the run? From who? I asked. Look, I think you're a nice guy. I don't want to get you involved. Let's talk about something else. The less you know about those things, the better. How much time do you spend on the road? Most of my deliveries are day jobs. Once in a while I overnight. That's why I have the bunk behind you. Actually, I more or less lived in this van, though she didn't really need to know that. I see your wedding ring. I suppose your wife appreciates you being home most nights, Moira said. My wife died 1 year, 7 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days ago. She opened her book and resumed reading. I turned the music up. We rode together in silence for another half hour. The storm lessened some. The sky still looked like weathered steel, but the wind had backed off and we hadn't had any rain in a while. I'm not sure who they are. Sometimes I think I've lost them, but they always seem to find me, she said, breaking the calm. Maybe I should have asked you a few more questions before agreeing to haul you west. I saw her smile reflected in her window. My radar monitor flashed red and beeped. I looked in my mirror and noticed headlights. Out of habit, I reached down on the right, between the seats, and felt the comfort of cold steel. I always keep it loaded and close by when I'm working. Be prepared. I learned that as a Boy Scout. And if there's trouble coming, a Mossberg persuader is pretty good preparation. Moira, noticing my movements, turned her head and glanced at the passenger side mirror. We've got company, she said. Looked out my mirror again and saw a blank Lincoln Town car approaching in the left lane. One of the heavy ones from maybe 2010. Didn't look like anything to worry about, but out of habit, I gripped the steering wheel firmly at 9 3. The Lincoln had come alongside, and while I was thinking about my options, the big car slammed on my side of the van, trying to run us off the road. The Lincoln was a big car, but no match for an armored van. The right wheels barely kissed the shoulder before I swung hard to my left and knocked the Lincoln into the steep ditch on the other side of the 2-lane road. I could see in the mirror the Lincoln was nose down, the back wheels off the ground. I pulled off to the left shoulder and stopped. Heard the passenger door slam shut before I even had my seatbelt off. I reached back for the Mossberg while opening my door. It wasn't there. I got out of the van. Where the hell are you going? I shouted. We need to get out of here. Moira walked quickly to the disabled car. Only then did I notice she had the Mossberg over her right shoulder. The driver of the Lincoln furiously tried to get his jammed door open and find his gun on the floor of the town court. Moira seemed unfazed. She walked over to the driver's side, pointed the Mossberg at the window, and pulled the trigger. The inside of the car was instantly covered with brain and blood spatter. I could no longer see inside. Moira got to the passenger side and yanked the door open. The other man was slumped unconscious, still strapped in his seat. Moira calmly took the Bowie knife out of its holster and slit the man's throat. As she walked back to the van, she tossed the Mossberg to me and went around to her side. "Let's get moving," she said. "Who are you?"